Hey guys, making a video for you here to help you with the orthographic sketch part of the project, doing the acrylic sign. Really shouldn't be too much. We really just want to see your design that you're going to have to do on Tinkercad here. I'm also going to talk about the elements that you need to add that it said in the design brief. You have to have 3 elements added. So I'm going to talk through how to do all that stuff before you pop it onto the laser engraver. Okay, so let's go to Tinkercad and let's start out. Let's say you're going to do the easiest, most simple design. So I'm going to go to create a design. And while that's loading, I'm going to go up here and remind you that based on our design brief, you must include a sign that is 8 inches wide, must be 8 inches wide, but it can be between 8 to 10 inches tall. Honestly, if you want it shorter than 8 inches, that's fine. Let's say we're even going to change that right now and just change it to 3 inches to 10 inches tall. Give you some range. So if I'm going to do the max space I can use for my design on Tinkercad, here's the easiest thing you do. Bring out a sign for your acrylic. Let's change the height right away to 1/8, 0.125, since that's what we're going to use. It has to be 8 inches wide. And then I'm going to tab over here to the max, which is 10 inches tall. This is it. If you are going to do just an 8-inch by 10-inch tall sign, this is all you need. So then for your, let's go back down. For your orthographic sketch here that you need to include following this video, all we need is the top ISO front and right. So for that, we just go here and we click top, front, right, and then either of these corners for the ISO. Okay. So that's perfectly fine if that's all you're going to do. If you wanted a shorter sign, like I said, if you're going to do the minimum, which we now set is 3 inches, there you go. So again, top, front, right, and ISO. Okay. That's the most basic you need. Now, let's say you want to be creative and you want to have a different design for an outline. Mr. Harris and myself have shown you some of the examples we've used. So let's show you what you could do with that. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. We're going to come back to it. Actually, we'll start right away. So whatever you do, you're going to need to have a base on your sign, a bottom base that fits inside the 3D printed base you're going to make. So I'm going to go here, bring out our cube. I'm going to make sure that it is 8 inches wide. It has to be. Tab, I'm going to keep it at 1 inch. Okay. I'm going to make my height 1/8, 0.125. You really don't have to do that because it's going to be a cut file, but it is nice to see that you're thinking about the space that you're using. Okay, you must have that. Now, I'm a big Brewers fan. I'm sure you guys have caught on to that by now. So let's say I want to make a sign using the Brewers glove. So you could pick an image like this that I'm going to click on here, this Brewers glove. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my face so I can do things here. I can go right click, save image as, and it's a WEBP file. I can't use that, so I'm going to try something else. I'm going to type in silhouette, Brewers silhouette, and maybe I'll get something a little better. So let's try. Let's try this design here. It says on Etsy. If I right click, save image as, that gives me a WBEP file too. So let's try it anyways. Mr. Harris says we can do it in the background. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to just call it glove. Okay. And I'm going to put it in my downloads. Now I'm going to have to convert that file to an SVG file to put onto Tinkercad. So I'm going to add a new thing here, and it's called WEBP to SVG. So if you had a JPEG, you would do the same thing to SVG, or PNG to SVG. It doesn't matter. And converter. Now you're going to want to do this on one of the desktops because it will work more efficiently for you. Doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to pick the first one. I'm going to go to choose files. There's a file I called glove. I'm going to click convert. It's going to do all the work here in the background. Do. It's taking its time. Boop, 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 boop. Now I'm going to hit download, and it's going to save it for me as an SVG. So I'm going to go back to Tinkercad, and now I can go to import. I'm going to choose that file, glove, that is an SVG. It says it here. Now it says it's bigger than 1,000 millimeters cubed. So all I have to do is change one of these in length to something less than 1,000. Let's pick 599 because that sounds like a fun number. Hit import. So it will give me the design. It just shrunk it down a little bit for me. And yeah, that's the shrunken down design. So that could be my sign. The only thing that's going to be an issue is that it's not connected. So I'm going to have to find a way to connect that M together, and I could use that. Okay. So just for this demonstration purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how I can use this. So I'm going to hit Shift and shrink this down to a more manageable size. And actually what I can do too here is I can just pick a number. Let's just make this an 8. It's basically a square, so 8 by 8. Okay, there's my glove. So the next thing I have to do is make sure it's the same height, 0.125, and you'll see that they'll start to mesh. So I'll slide it into the base so it has a bit of a connection to it. Then the next thing I'm going to have to show you is how to make sure that this sign with the M and the B are all connected, how you can make that work. So I can actually pull out a cube here, and I can turn this cube a little bit so it's straight on. And if I make that the same height, 0.125, that's going to connect these two pieces together. I'm going to have to do that on all 3 parts of the glove. Otherwise, it's going to cut them out separately. This will prevent it from cutting out separately. Control C, Control V. Put that there. Curve that a little bit. Drop that down. There we go. Now, this is how your sign will fit. This will fit into the 3D printed base you're going to have, and this sign will stick out using the color acrylic that you choose. Last thing we have to do is just group it together. That's what the sign will look like. This will literally be your cutout. Okay? So I'm happy with this if I was going to make this sign. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Export and SVG, so I have that file ready for me for when I'm ready to go use the laser engraver. If I'm using the desktop, I'm going to want to make sure I put this into my Google Drive, so I might have to then log into Drive and put that on there so it's there for me later. Or I will make sure I use the same desktop that you're using when you go to put your stuff onto the laser engraver. Okay, so now what do we need to have here on our sheet? We need to have the top, the front, the right, and the ISO. So from here, I'm going to go back to Tinkercad, and I'm going to make sure that I'm focused in on this design. And I'm going to do my top view. Move over here to front view. Should be thin. Right view should be super thin, but you can kind of see how these lines are in there. So we can kind of see how it's working. And then ISO. Okay, that corner or this corner. You take those screenshots and you put them right in here, and you're good to go. Now, the last thing I need to help you with is what you're going to put on your actual laser engraved piece. If I go back up to our constraints here, it says that with our personal touch, we need to use at least 3 elements. Now, if I'm going to be someone who's going to make a creative cutout of my sign like you see on here, that counts as 1 element. If you're just doing a regular rectangle or short square or whatever, that doesn't count as an element. That's just a real simple square cutout. This will count as an element because you're doing something a little above and beyond. We'll give you the benefit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend I'm doing just a regular square. I'm going to try to find 3 elements. Now that's pretty easy. I'm going to go online and find different things that I like. I really like the ball with the wheat that the brewers have, so I'm going to save this image. Okay, it's a PNG file. I'll save that one. I'm going to put that on. I'm also going to find where it says Brew Crew words. So I can find something like this. I really like this design. Save image as. That's a JPEG. I'm going to change that to Brew Crew so I can find it later. And then I want to find just something else online. Or actually what I'll do is I'll type the other thing. So now I'm going to go on to Canva, and I'm going to go to custom size, and I'm going to change pixels to inches. Remember, the width is 8, 10 is the height. And what I'm going to do now is move my face over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all those things in my uploads that I just came up with. So Brew Crew is going to go in there, upload the brewer's thing. So each element that I'm going to have on my sign, I'm going to make a separate image of so I can move it around and be creative when I put this onto the laser engraver. So I'm going to put Brew Crew there. Remember, for editing the photo, make sure you don't have any background. It is white background I need, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to go down to filters and just make sure I have a grayscale filter. Let's go a little more where I can have a little more design with it. Okay, I like that one. Good. I'm going to add a page. We're going to go to my upload of the ball. Again, there's no background. Don't have to worry about that, but I'm going to go down and add a grayscale filter. Okay, let's see. I like that one. That one looks good. And then the last one I said I'm going to go here, and I'm going to use the hashtag I see a lot of times. So I'm just going to make my own text. And I'm just going to do hashtag this is my crew. Even if they lose terribly in the playoffs every year and make me cry, they are my team. So I'm going to use this font. I like that. So now I have all three fonts ready to go for when I'm ready to go make my sign on the laser engraver. I'm going to need all these things. I'm going to need these three elements here. I'm going to need my Tinkercad design downloaded as an SVG, and I can go on my merry way to design my sign. So that's everything here for the video. If you have any questions, see Mr. Harris or myself, or rewatch to try to get this down yourself and get some practice with it. Just remember your base must be 8 inches wide and no taller than 10 inches and no shorter than 3 inches. And you'll be good to go.